Good afternoon. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here among fellow poets in Virginia at the Poetry Society of Virginia. I'm sorry and saddened that Joanna couldn't be here at this event, but you know, stuff happens. I grew up, just a little background to this piece. It's a prose piece that I first delivered in Miami back when at the Actors Playhouse, a winner of the lip service competition back in those days. I wrote this is a true story. It's a prose piece because I grew up in inner city Chicago. A member of, as a first-generation immigrant in the inner city of Chicago. Growing up in the settlement era, it's still going on. Erie House is probably the oldest settlement community in the country. 1870 is when it was established. Settlement houses were community houses where immigrant kids could go after school. It was like childcare in those days. We had music, we had programs, they taught us English, they had dance, they had all kinds of programs, and they'd take us out to the suburbs where we could dream of other ways of living. So this prose piece is called Believe. When I was 8 years old, I lived in a tenement house with my father and stepmother. The kids in the neighborhood played in the alley. We'd coax rats out from the basement. Inside, the linoleum was cracked and old and never clean. We didn't have doors, just sheets between rooms. Christmas was coming. There was no tree. My presents were underwear and socks. I was at that age, not a baby, but surely not an adult, when you suspect but are not completely convinced that Santa is a storybook notion. I looked around my bedroom sheet to find out if my parents were up to something suspicious. At the time, I spent my afternoons at Erie House, a place where Chicago's poor youth could go after school. Erie House was what I really called home. It opened up new worlds for me. Erie House set up excursions to the suburbs. A family with a girl my age took me in for a weekend. I saw my first green lawn. The people I stayed with had clean feet, even clean toenails. That weekend, I remember thinking, I want a home, not a tenement house, but a home with green grass and clean floors. My family was so poor that believing I'd have a home with a lawn someday was like believing in magic. I wanted these things, but like with Santa Claus, I didn't really believe. When Erie House announced a trip to Northwestern University to see Santa, I just figured I'd go along for the ride. I would just smile when Santa appeared so I wouldn't spoil it for the younger kids. We arrived at a huge university hall. The decorated ceilings and pillars stretched to the sky. Sparkling ornaments on satin ribbons trimmed the mighty Christmas trees. Yes, trees, plural. Tables piled high with sweets lined the long walls. There were oodles of presents under each tree. It seemed like enough for every child around the world. In the center of the back wall was this magnificent bejeweled throne, which I quickly surmised was Santa's. The mystery man was not there yet. When Santa finally appeared, I noticed that his beard was real, and his boots were not plastic, like the ones on department store Santas. He had snow white hair, and his suit was trimmed in genuine fur. I could tell the bag slung over his shoulder was stuffed with packages. Santa took the youngest child first on his knee. I watched his every move, looking for proof that he wasn't the real deal. In spite of my disbelief in Santa, when my name was called, my heart fluttered. I exaggerated my measured walk toward Santa in hopes of appearing confident and sure. I didn't want anyone to think I was a baby. But when I sat on Santa's lap, the strangest feeling came over me. It was like a rainbow with all its colors wrapped around me. He asked me my name. How old was I? His eyes were a safe place to rest. Then Santa asked the question I'd been waiting for the entire night. Patsy, what do you want for Christmas? I knew this ordinary man, a rent-by-the-night Santa, couldn't possibly give me what I wanted. But just in case, I answered, I would like a cheerleader's baton. I hadn't told anybody, anywhere, not my parents, not my teachers, not the Erie House volunteers, no one. That's when the unimaginable happened. Santa reached into his sack and pulled out a sparkling cheerleader's baton just for me, just what I wanted. I hugged this man. No, Santa. No, it was Santa. As hard as I could, as long as I dared. How could he possibly have known my secret wish? Unless he was the genuine guy. It was then that I knew Santa is real. That long ago day still lingers. I've lost the baton, but his real gift has never left me. It was never about the baton, although at the time it was enough to make a little girl believe. Now, as an adult, I know that belief can transform. Santa is real. My home with the green grass and the clean floor is real too.